Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this exclusive series on adaptable HR. The future is now, brought to you by People Matters in association with Allied Solutions. I'm Esther Martinez. I'm the CEO and editor-in-chief at People Matters, and I'll be your host for this conversation today. It's my privilege to bring to you some of the key findings from the Asia Pacific largest study, and also following up with a conversation with one of our CHROs who is leading the way when it comes to transformation. We have with us for this episode, it's indeed a pleasure to welcome Nora Manaf, Group Chief Human Capital Officer at Maybank, and Shashwat Kumar, Vice President, Asia Head Advisory, Payroll and Cloud Allied Solutions. A little brief about our panelists. Nora has been associated with Maybank for 12 years. Maybank is, as you know, Asia's leading banking group and Southeast Asia fourth largest bank by assets. In addition to her role as the group CHRO and member of the group EXCO at Maybank, Nora also chairs several national level committees and holds several board memberships as well. And she's an adjunct professor for the College of Business at University of Uttara, Malaysia. Nora, very warm welcome to this episode. Thank you so much for giving us your time and being part of this session.
It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nora. I have the privilege to welcome our lead traveler for this journey in the last few months to take this gigantic effort on HR transformation study from the Allied team. Today's we're going to welcome Shashwat Kumar, Asia leader for advisory, payroll and cloud solutions at Allied. Shashwat, as many of you know, has worked as an advisory for many Fortune 500 corporations when it comes to their delivery transformation, shared services, offshoring and change management. Prior to his role, he led Asia Pacific HR transformation practice at Aon. And I think anything to do with HR transformation is just a synonym of your work and your career. So it's a pleasure to welcome you, Shashwat. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. Excited to be here.
Wonderful. So what we're going to do together is we're going to spend a little bit of time. We've requested Shashwat to share some of the key findings for the HR Transformation Study 2021. And after that, we'll open it up for some conversations with you, Nora, on what is adaptable HR? What are some of the things that resonated with you from what Shashwat shared, and how are you leading that transformation at Maybank? So over to you, Shashwat, for the first part of the conversation.
What I will do is I will quickly take you through the construct of adaptability. Here I will not take time around who Allied is. Allied, essentially we have been an HR transformation specialist for last 30 years or so, coming out of heritage of Hewitt. And since 2004, we have been world's leading HR services organization. So operationally we work in this space, and this is only business which we do. So we are an enterprise firm focused on HR services, HR transformation. Now, getting back to what happened with our HR transformation study and what we started seeing in the market as we were launching it, leaders like you were helping business address the whole challenge of how do you continue the operation. So if you look at current challenge of COVID and related challenges, HR has come to the front to understand different challenges of business, adjust to the same and ensure operations continue. Also, HR has taken care of employee sentiment and well-being, both from health perspective, but also from stress, feedback, and how to keep them engaged. And most importantly, there has been collaboration within the organization, with business, with industry, and also with the larger ecosystem of government and other stakeholders. And there has been this constant changing of policies, adjusting that, and so on. In many ways, if you step back and think of it, this is what an agile or an adaptable function will look like. Obviously, you want to minimize the stress or the heavy lifting which many stakeholders are doing to achieve the outcome, But in many ways, HR truly is living what an adaptable framework will look like. So this is the confirmation we did as our study launch got delayed. So the question which comes to mind is it amplification of the situation for now, or is it an ongoing trend? Datuk Nora, looking at your own report and when you look at many of those things, you will be very familiar with the fact that we have been going through these changes over years. So at least in last 3 to 5 years, there has been acceleration. As you think from HR's perspective, really changes are coming from three broad dimensions. One is the dimension of business breakthroughs and how that's changing the demand from HR from a business perspective. And this is fundamentally happening because pace of innovation has changed, and the time to monetize an innovation, that whole time window has reduced. And a lot of this innovation is happening with your traditional competitors. A lot of the innovation is happening also with non-traditional competitors. And hence business will be changing direction, and HR needs to enable that. The other big piece which is happening on back of technology and a lot of other pieces is delayering of organizations, reconfiguration of jobs itself. So that creates both opportunity and demand for HR to enable that. And the third dimension is talent aspirations and experience, and that continues to change. People do talk about millennials, but it's also beyond that, because from a psychographics perspective, all of us are today different consumer than we were earlier. And what it means is we also demand different kind of experience and expectations when it comes to services internally in our daily job lives. So really the premise here, and it has been in last couple of studies, that this change is there and it's only going to accelerate. If that's the case, an adaptable HR fundamentally is about ability to sense and adjust to new conditions. Uh, in past, we have said that really you need to focus on three things. HR needs to focus on outcomes which are material to business and which are really important for business success. And this will fundamentally be various talent outcomes. Think of employee experience as one anchor, and think of people analytics as the third anchor. So that framework still stands. But when we looked at that framework, we said there needs to be a change as you think of adaptability. Outcomes is not only about defining the outcomes, it's about the mutual commitment between on that outcomes between various stakeholders, because that mutual commitment is essential to have that both buy-in, joint buy-in to that outcome and success, and also it gives the right to different stakeholders and to come back and say, by the way, this outcome or need for this outcome has changed because context for us has changed. The second piece is really adoption at heart, which is experience. But we said it's beyond experience, because many times people look at experience as something to be designed. While it's important, experience is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing piece. So how do you get into the discipline of measuring, getting feedback, and constantly evolving your program, your platforms, your infrastructure, ways of working environment, so that adoption is at the core. And when adoption happens, the third element kicks in. Because when adoption truly happens on all programs, what it does is you start getting very good quality of data. And that good quality of data is people analytics. But to us, we said, while a lot of analytics is important, the most important analytics is analytics which can be your GPS in your drive to future or drive to delivering your talent strategy. So if we are saying we have these outcomes which are most important, I have a strategy defined around it to enable that, then people analytics is really the GPS which enables that. And in that sense, it becomes the whole cornerstone on which HR is able to navigate to the future. So to us, these three became the outcomes needed from business or organization perspective. And to enable that, you need three disciplines to come through. One is the discipline of new approach to design, which has to be more cross-functional and will need to put employees or other customers at the center. A whole new way of experience anchored mindset. So experience anchored mindset in many ways, Datuk Noora, you will understand, is also about focusing on data all the time to really get feedback and improve. And the third piece, which is governance, and which your organization already does fairly well, is ability to create an outside in view, because that outcome is more important than any efficiencies which HR can create. Is the ability to talk with business, understand problems to be solved, coming back, solving it, and going back with data to report how the whole thing happened. So really, this became the anchor framework to say these together really complement and complete what an adaptable HR will look like. Now we said, let's look at some data to validate it. So in the report, we have outlined what navigating to the future means, what adoption at heart means, what commitment to outcomes means. What we realized was, if you look at the mature archetype of organizations, these are the organizations who have defined HR operating model and defined HR technology strategy. They are the ones who see a big jump, both on their confidence and also on efficiencies. This is what we call digital divide, because digital is not about technology, it's about combination of technology and HR operating model change with focus on right set of outcomes. Then we said, what really starts pulling HR ahead? And that's when we start looking at other subsets of data. And we realize that organizations who not only have that, but are also extremely satisfied on HR technology, they saw a jump. And while HR technology satisfaction was an indicator, that's not what is causing it. Because when we looked at it, we realized that in a cloud world, satisfaction with HR technology is not a given. So that happens when organization is adapting around it and is also kind of looking at ways and means to get value out of it to enable right set of outcomes. And when you look at these organizations, they start pulling ahead on navigating to the future. That's really, to us, was the discipline divide. And we also peeled it. And why I'm saying this happens when HR organization starts doing their governance very right and with discipline. And you would have experienced this in your organization. When you start focusing and forcing your HR teams to become outcome focused, taking that input from business, give that power and discussion on that governance table to HR VPs to say why this is important, how it needs to happen. COE is enabling that change and to those outcomes and projects. So really moving to a project mindset to execute that. And as you build discipline around it, everything starts getting pulled forward. So that's really the insight why this starts happening. Now moving to what it really means from organization perspective. As organization starts moving to more mature archetype, they are obviously doing or taking care of all the items on the left hand side, which is normal items like leadership pipeline, addressing right talent, and so on. But what happens is they have bandwidth and the tools, then also capability within HR to start addressing things which matter, which is enabling pace of innovation for business, de-risking critical roles. And that's fundamentally different from leadership, because leadership is development, de-risking critical roles is enabling a strategy success of the business itself. Similarly, more focus on employee experience and aspirations versus employee engagement. Also, these organizations, because they have operations and technology in control, they will tend to do better with newer technology adoption, whether it's chatbots, robotics, or anything like that, because they have now appetite and skills to build up on those new adoptions. Now, to complete the picture, we also said, now, if this is true, adaptability as a framework gives you bandwidth, gives you capability and capacity, and also creates efficiency. Are these organizations more ready to address different risks which business are going to face with? And again, it kind of confirmed the data for us. So bringing all this back together to our earlier belief that HR transformation on its own actually does not have much value, because HR budget out of your overall P&L is a small budget. What really is the value of HR transformation is HR's ability to enable success of all business transformation. Because when we engage and work with large clients, typically any client today is going through 10, 12, 15 such business transformation projects. All of them will boil down, when you look at it, is about organization change. Some of it is about really job rewiring. A lot of them is about mindset and behavior change and enabling collaboration. So if you look at those business transformations to succeed, HR will have to come to the table and really create that impact. And that's where the value of HR transformation. So Esther, Nora, I will stop here. Look forward to your comments, and any area if you want me to get into with any more detailed data, I can do that. Thanks.